Welcome to a quest called Triba. This is the Community Guides podcast for Triba Business Community Discord. And today we have Tabalo Torres. How do you say your full name? Say your full name for us, because it's just
I'm gonna give you the very Hispanic way. It's Cristobal Jose Torres Valderas.
what a kick-ass name, man. If I had a name like that, that's so cool. My name is Sam, and it's so plain. I love the flavor there. Tell us a little bit about your heritage and where you're from.
Yeah, I mean Sam Heb does got a ring to it, but yeah, so I was born in Seville, Spain. I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, South Central Fort Worth. I went to elementary school right by TCU. I went to the largest high school and oldest high school in Fort Worth. I grew up there, so pretty Texan and cowboy at heart. I joke around. The joke is not even a joke. It's just a cultural thing. But Fort Worth's where the West begins. So if you didn't know
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
now you know that. We're
I had
putting
no
Fort
idea.
Worth.
I had
I'll
no
put
idea.
Fort Worth on the map. And don't say Dallas. Don't ever say Dallas. But then I went to university at Texas State University. I studied information systems. I've worked in I work in the cloud computing industry, so I'm a solution architect by profession. I've also done a lot of self-taught markets and economics knowledge throughout the years as well. Um, I kind of just coined myself as a systems specialist or architect.
Hmm.
Uh, so all things information systems. I've done big data, enterprise IT, digital transformations, crypto enthusiast and entrepreneur. And then I'm also the founder and run Yeetum, um, which is a firm dedicated to revolutionizing information sharing. And primarily, we deliver market signals intelligence as well as a variety of other sort of macro information, macro, central banks, geopolitics through our Atlantis Club. And we're currently building a SaaS software
Yes.
to enhance the delivery of that. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. I don't know what I should refer to you as on this stream. I probably should have asked you. You go by Doctor Yeadam in the Triba community, but what should I call you? Just Chris in reference.
No, just Tabalo. I mean, that friends
Tabal.
and family call
That's
me
what I normally
Tabalo, so
call you,
call me
Tabalo.
Tabalo. Yeah,
All
and
right.
Dr. Yeadam's just an alias.
So,
So
so Dr. Yeadam or Tabalo has been a crucial and influential member in the Triba business community. So he's been there since pretty much day one, and even before that, when this was just a concept in my mind and a few other people's minds, and we discovered Discord had incredible potential for sharing information, and he started Synergy by Yeadam, which is one of our sister partner Discord channels, and that has been my go-to source for crypto stock analysis, just signals, any information. If I have a question, I'm coming and asking Dr. Yeadam or Tabalo. Sorry, Tabalo here. So I just
either
wanted
works.
to express my appreciation as community leader in Triba for everything that you've done and everything you've poured into the community. I mean, Tabalo's constantly creating content that's helpful for me, learning about information, learning about stocks, as well as putting it out there for free in our community. So you can go to the investing articles, or you can go to the news and announcements and see some of the stuff he's written. Great writer. I love reading the or peering into your mind, so to speak, when I read your writing. It's really cool to see. But I'm curious, like, how did you get started with Synergy, and if you can take us back on sort of a walk through the history and the timeline, all the way back to like early 2020 or 2019. What did that look like, and how did this evolve into a full blown Discord community and business?
Yeah. So to be honest, and this is definitely feeds into why Tribe is so valuable, why it has a deep place in my heart, and why at least giving back or paying it forward so important. But I remember um, kind of on my ramping up of Yeetum and maturing the operation and learning a bit more business strategy, startup strategy, entrepreneurship strategy. I ran into some Facebook groups that you had made about founders and sort of funneled
Yeah.
my way into your uh, community metaverse. And that's probably almost been a little less than a year now, or almost a year. I think it was October-ish
Yeah,
or
yeah, it was about this
November-ish.
time.
Yeah, and then I just remember, running into you and Garrett, and not only feeling a warm welcome, but a very sort of, it was very apparent to me, obvious, like the strategic mindset about, how do you build a business in the digital age. And
Hmm.
I remember you sharing with me uh, Garrett's book on gravity marketing,
Yes.
and sort of me watching and learning how you guys built the discords, how you guys were running the Facebook group, and kind of the core concept of kind of Garrett helped me wrap my head around, at least for my business, about sort of building kind of a solar system that gravitates to my company.
Right.
And then that's kind of what gave birth to Synergy. And through that, I built multiple distribution channels for the information to easily broadcast with the Facebook group. There's a Telegram, there's a Discord, I have
Hmm.
iMessage, there's Snapchat, there's all these things. But the birth of that idea directly came from like learning from you and Garrett, and just kind
That's
of
awesome.
really kind of listening and absorbing the strategies you've learned and employed to be successful. So at least to me in my own business, and ever since I basically started that sort of gravity marketing concept at the beginning of the year, and Yeadam's grown tremendously. Our web traffic is through the roof.
That's awesome.
We got 6 new clients within the past week,
That's awesome.
and we're doing great. So I mean, we're
That's so cool
growing.
to see.
Obviously, yeah. There's obviously a lot to do, and we're not in a place where we can where we're satisfied with our harvest. But
Right.
it's a process, and we keep going, and it's really a testament to the work you do, Sam, and what
Thank
Garrett
you.
and sort of the other tribe elders have, that at least have directly facilitated and sharpened my blade as an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
So
those
there's
those tribe elders, man, they're really helpful. They're all there to help you grow your business. They all love seeing other businesses succeed, and Tabalo is one of those. Jeremiah is also in here. He's one of those. Um, these guys are all about helping businesses grow and build infrastructure and succeed in a digital age. And there's so many tools available that Discord was just the first thing we honed in on as the primary community platform, but it branches out from there. And being part of Synergy, I've really seen you guys take what you've learned and apply it in really practical ways, just giving back, pouring into your community, adding value first, and it's paying off. And I love seeing that. I love seeing you guys succeed. I'm all about it. I love being part of the club and getting the VIP membership and seeing the back end and how things develop, as well as just following your own personal journey as a founder and as a business owner. I think that you're an incredibly brilliant person, Tabalo, and I probably don't tell you this nearly often enough, but I think you've managed to cultivate your knowledge and stay sane in an incredibly fast-paced world of digital information and technology, and somehow you manage to run a Discord and run a company and work full time for Oracle. And like, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but like you're doing it all, man.
Larry's Larry's watching. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, the, I would, the thing, at least for me, when it comes to this information and digital media, I think the most important thing, and even something that is a core pillar and tenet to Tribe, is that these
Uh-oh, you cut out for a second. The core piece of information. We need the core piece. I hope it's not on my end. Let's check the stream.
it's ultimately a tool. Uh
Uh-oh, you cut out. You said the core piece of information and then you froze.
oh.
I was like, no!
Oh,
Cliffhanger.
all right, I'll repeat it. The main tenet to what these information systems and tools are, it's not that they themselves create value, but it's how they serve us and the
Mm,
human experience. It's more about knowing how to use G Suite, QuickBooks, whatever business software it is, email. And if you can get more hardcore and learn how to code or understand a little bit more programming, then more power to you. But ultimately, this um, it's about sort of enhancing the human experience. It's about
yeah.
knowing that if we don't be mindful of that or vigilant of that, it will directly have negative impacts and effects on our human experience. And I think that's fairly self-evident to maybe the audience that's watching or listening that
Probably.
yeah, the a lot of toxic or sort of agenda driven or some sort of psychological negatively engineered meme or whatever it is doesn't help us. And it being mindful and at least aware of how these things work not only helps you defend yourself, but it helps you just understand the game that's being played in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think we tried to go for with Triba was creating a place where you could dive deeper without being overwhelmed with all the BS out there and all the noise. And I'm curious from your perspective what that's like. How you talk about these tools that enhance the human experience, but it also seems like it's so easy for our viewers. Primarily, we focus on a lot of founders, entrepreneurs, and students and self-taught people. And if they're diving deeper and deeper into technology, into these tools, learning how to code and program and apply that to their business, how do you maintain sanity through all that? Because you're putting yourself in that box. You're exposing yourself to more and more technology, and at the same time, that seems to have a negative impact on our mental health. I'm curious if you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, it's definitely a loaded question.
Yeah.
I think importantly, there's sort of historical context to take into place. Uh, you know, throughout the 1900s and the Industrial Revolution, whether it was learning how to, more efficient production in, the Model T assembly line, or whether, cotton mills were learning how to be highly more efficient
Hmm.
and produce more output. The fact of the matter is that we've gained an edge in our tools to be able to provide more abundance and quality of life. But what that means is every great power or new innovation also has its equal and opposite effect with a more negative sort of spin to it. And it primarily, at least for the information age, um, it's about understanding that although we are safer, it's easier to get food. We don't have to worry about a lot lower survival needs. We are highly overstimulated, and this whole paradigm is a lot more sort of cyber based and psychological. And if
Hmm.
we don't sort of pay attention to or mindful or about the fact that whether you're getting tons of Snapchat notifications, whether you're getting tons of Discord notifications, Facebook, every app under the sun, every anything, it, you have to be aware that these things are overstimulating you. So if you don't
Yeah.
have sort of beyond the computer techniques, it's just sort of mental techniques of like knowing how to slow your thinking and take a second to let go of thoughts and synchronize your thinking and your breathing. And having to cope with these things, it's a lot broader than purely an information conversation. So until those conversations integrate these schools of thought, and hopefully we can help lead that, and we will.
Yeah.
Um,
What we're trying to
as
do.
far as as far as I'm alive, is we will, we'll definitely fight that good fight. But it's number one thing is to be mindful. We are naturally overstimulated. Our parents, our grandparents, the boomers, they did not grow up in a day and age where a kid that's 3 years old or 4 or 5 years old, is glued to an iPad. All they know
Hmm.
is an iPad or iPhone or apps. They don't know the child development of that. Nobody knows, and it really just plays into the fact that younger people and younger folks who have a bit more acuity to this kind of way to work and operate, we just have to pay it forward. And being mindful is the number one thing.
I think you're right. We are kind of leading that charge, though. I'm wondering if overstimulation is relative, or if that's something that we're all just going to have to accept that we're being overstimulated, no matter what. So, for example, I try to get people on Discord, right? I get people on Discord all the time. I say it's a better app than Facebook, which I think it is. You have more openness and authenticity and integrity on Discord. It's easier to see through the facade a lot of times on Discord. But at the same time, you're exposed to a whole new set of notifications, a whole nother app. How do you deal with that kind of stuff?
Whoever it is, whether it's me, you, the Pope, or anybody, you have to be mindful of where your focus or your conscious attention is being applied, and
Mhm.
whether who's in control of that. It's a
Mhm.
big and deep question, and we can scratch at that as much as you want, but primarily it's knowing, hey, if you're just consuming a bunch of junk that is junk, or you're just going mindlessly numbing your passing your time on anything, yeah, of course you're going to get no value out of that, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even certain discords. So it's
Mhm.
about knowing that you have to sort of trim the fat on your media hygiene and your information hygiene. It's like, how much
Mhm.
stuff do you consume or apply your attention? And that's not to say, oh, you need to be a disciplined monk and, go so hardcore and never, have fun or let loose with your, what videos or funny cat memes you like. But it's just kind of the idea that just be mindful of that, because
Right.
there's a direct cause and effect to your behaviors, your actions, and your emotions because of these things. And that's just basic cognitive behavioral therapy. So that's important. It's very important.
Yeah. No, I mean, for my own sanity, I've have started using focus mode, which they introduced on the Android. I have the Pixel 3, so I can turn off everything and it won't let me use it except for like 3 minutes or 5 minutes here and there. So sometimes I'll still check Facebook or check to see if anyone's tagged me in something. But even then, it's so easy to derail yourself from what you're working on, what you're focused on.
Yeah.
And if you already struggle with that, if you're ADD, or you're struggling to maintain focus, having all these social media apps, it's not helping you. You might feel good for a few minutes, but you're breaking your focus from whatever you're trying to accomplish at the time. So I mean, I recommend people try that out and see. That's one way. We talk about this idea of media hygiene, and I'm just trying to compile a list of ways, like they have for medicine, like the healthcare field, right? They have all these personal hygiene techniques and tips and advice, and I want to compile a list of different tools people can use, or even go through and see, like, all right, am I over the top in my exposure to media? Am I overly saturated in things that are not helping me? And have some sort of metric where we can measure that.
Yeah. And, it ultimately comes to a question of privacy.
Yeah.
What data is being collected that you can measure, the good and the bad, and who controls it, who owns it, who has the rights to it, the sovereignty of it. Ideally, you should be in control of everything that revolves around yourself. Um, Bottom line, but the thing, at least for me, is it's a catch 22, because
Hmm. How
in the
so?
way I work and operate is I have to use these devices so much to do the business I do. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see the world record of who has the most average iPhone screen time per week or something like that, and how much of it, in a like a research way, how much of it is applied to, like, mind numbing reels content, like that's the new trend and
Right.
technology on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. And even the algorithms favor that because it's like a short dopamine feedback loop. But how much of that is sucking you away from, oh, you need to be spending time with your kid, or you need to be
Yeah.
really working on your business, or you need to be learning things that are going to serve you long term.
Yeah.
So that the data's there. It's just, how aware people want to be about data that that will
Yeah.
define how far they are willing to understand or know or dig into, because it's not an easy
Hmm.
conversation at all.
And the move towards reels and these short dopamine reward loops is kind of disturbing, um, from my own personal perspective. Just to think that you could spend hours and hours and hours on TikTok, which I've been guilty of before when I first found TikTok. Just you keep scrolling. It's like a constant infinity loop of dopamine and just
Yeah.
entertainment that distracts you from everything else that's important in life. Before we had that, we didn't have. You had to actually do stuff with your life. You had to actually apply yourself, and now you have the option to just watch what other people have created constantly. I mean, YouTube kind of did that, but it was on a totally different level, and it was like you had to actually search for good stuff, and then they would recommend stuff, and you'd go down a rabbit hole. And now it's like you just one swipe, you can just do this all day.
Yeah, and even in the digital business world, it's like the new tool. It's like, oh, what's your, TikTok marketing strategy and what have you. So that's a part of that catch 22. It's
Right.
like, okay, it's a new innovation in technology that if we don't understand it, it's not going to help us. But if we can at least understand it to the degree of knowing the balance of polarization and toxicity versus productivity and serving the human experience, that's kind of the balancing act and the
Mm-hmm.
gray area of it all, really.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have any personal media hygiene practices that you follow? I'm curious.
Yes, I watch endlessly chiropractor videos and steaks being cooked on Instagram. I'm just kidding. No, but I actually do that. I actually do that, and I'm aware of it. Uh,
Being aware, that's the first step.
I I don't know what it is. I just love
They get me with the
seeing a good.
chiropractor videos. Like,
Yeah, I just love seeing a good steak being cooked. With nice little chimichurri or whatever they do.
well, don't you
But
also have a ranch?
no, I don't have a ranch, but I've been on ranches. There's a lot of those in Texas.
Yeah.
But
Not
personally,
everybody in
what I
Texas
do,
had a ranch just by default. Okay.
everyone wants one by default, but not everyone has one. But what I personally, what I've done or employed, it's really, it's kind of a tough thing to think about, but like how many of your friends and family you grow up with that it's like what they're putting out there and what they're showing, is just junk and garbage, and it's like kind of that like, oh, all these people I grew up with on Twitter or
Right.
Instagram, it's like all your stories and all these things are just, meaningless, and having that hard conversation and really just trimming the fat. It's like, you know, you need value. You have to create value, and the only way to create value is to know value, realize value, see value, be valuable. And you can't be valuable if you're just consuming junk, just like any diet of anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even just purely information or media. It's just kind of, even from a nutritional standpoint, it's kind of the same concept, at least in a health way. But um, that was something I did. I remember in Twitter, there's a lot of people that they just didn't fit a line into like what I wanted to consume and know, or I didn't sort of vet as like an information source. I guess that feeds my own bias because everyone has their own bias. But at
Mm-hmm.
least for me, I'm all about information, data, and at least like to believe I'm trying to chase and understand the truth. So I mean, it's just really being honest about that, about who when you scroll down the app is wasting your time. It's just straight up.
Yeah. Do you block people then? Do you just
No, I
find?
don't block people. I just if I just it's more about following, like Discord, like with Triba and Synergy and some other ones I'm in. It's like there's deep value in them. So I always try to prioritize. It's really prioritizing.
I
It's
see.
like at least for me and how I work, it's like you want to think of it as like an information pipeline. It's like how are you consistently informed?
Right.
How are you consistently aware? How are you consistently educated? Um, and of course, there's Facebook groups that are silly or whatever, but
Yeah.
there's also some that are very good about other things, um, and just it's kind of the idea of open source intelligence, and it's knowing how to just um, procure a lot more valuable information. And obviously, that's like it's a core linchpin and pillar to Yeadom, but in a
Mm-hmm.
broader context, it's just how do you at least balance seeing polarized political memes versus radicalized areas of the internet or
Right.
whatever it is, and just kind of staying level headed, staying grounded, knowing who you are, um, and just being mindful of the filter, the deeper filters, like the inception filters that these devices give us, because these devices have proliferated the that I can
Yeah.
know something or you can know something at the speed of light, and it's faster than me running to my neighbor's house and knocking on their door, waiting for them to answer and telling them,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's pretty crazy.
It is. It's a totally different world than even our parents grew up in, and in a lot of ways than I grew up in, and you grew up in. Right? It's changing that fast. So I'm interested to see how the next generation handles the information overload. Because for me right now, it's a struggle, and it's required a lot of personal searching a lot of meditation, a lot of um, thoughtful consideration of how much am I consuming, which pipes am I going up to, and putting up to my mouth to take information in. Because, like you said, it's not always about blocking that person who triggers you or avoiding that person. It's about you got to be proactively searching for the best channels in which to receive information. And if you do that correctly, you will learn, my friend. If you do that wrong,
Yeah.
you'll be overwhelmed. You're gonna get worn out. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna be fighting constantly to try to just stay sane and make sense of it all.
Right. And at least for me, I'm not like a social media influencer or anything, and I don't really care to be, but I
I
know a
consider
lot of
you an
people.
influencer. Not a social media influencer, but you influence people. You've influenced me, Tabalo, and you got to see yourself like that because you are an influencer.
It just uh, we're preaching to the choir. I agree with you. I guess I'm saying it's like why people influence is a big reason, and
Yeah.
you have to decide what's valuable. And some people they just want impressions, likes, and kind of the really dopamine, very
Right.
shallow stuff. And that's a part of the internet. But I think it's obvious there's a rising sort of need in the market about really valuable community, really human to human. This is this guy, this is what I do,
Right.
just being honest and open.
Yeah.
Um, but more importantly, it's not a lot of it I was going to get at is a lot of social media influencers is they like to just block people or whenever they're getting trolled or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm not saying don't do that, but what I am saying is you have to understand if someone gives you if someone has control over what they say or what they do, whether it's cyber or physical, that penetrates your emotions or hits a trauma trigger or riles you up, you're giving them power.
Yeah.
You give them power by just the reaction. um so blocking is a tactic and a tool, but really knowing how to guard your mind and protect it at all costs, like you could use more meta and abstract analogies like Eden or something. But at the end of the day, it's just your mental health, it's your brain, and it's what you consume. It's your hygiene.
Mm-hmm. So, do you start off the day by clearing your mind and meditating? What's your morning routine look like? What's the day in the life to follow?
My morning routine is I wake up. Usually, I try to chug a cup of water. I've been pretty good about that. Some days I forget. Sometimes we're on the go, and you know
Yeah,
things
yeah.
change, and I'm also not very like an orthodox, rigid person. I do have my routines and
Right.
kind of the things I do to ground me and stuff. But primarily, I just wake up, I'll chug a water, I'll drink my cold brew, I'll go to the bathroom, like I'm sure everyone does.
Right
but
after the
but
cold brew.
but yeah, no, it's at least my work. It's very intense on the computer, whether it's mobile phone, meetings, knowing how to you know programming, or whether
Yeah,
it's more networking or whatever. It's very intense.
yeah,
I'm not gonna deny the fact that there's a lot of work I do on these, in this kind of realm
yeah.
of cyber, but it's that's just what it is. And for me to be able to operate at that level, and don't get me, it's not like I'm perfect all the time either. It's like I fall off, I deviate, just like any human does, and it's
You're
not
still
about
human.
being
It's good to
perfect.
know.
It's yeah, it's being at peace. It's just being at peace with like your imperfections, the mind, and then from a routine standpoint, you like we all do, we have a schedule, we have certain stuff during the day. When you're running a company, it's not necessarily about, oh, what do I got to do today or this week? It's about anticipating 4 to 5 moves ahead, especially if
Right.
you want to operate like a executive. And just knowing how to do that, knowing how to pull and push, because usually when you're managing stuff, it's always like sometimes things are more sensitive, or it's not in alignment with the operation or the vision, and so it's kind of a balancing act of knowing when to use more pressure, less, being open, and just and that's even more of like a sociology kind of thing, or
Yeah,
just human relationships and stuff. But the medium, the channel, is like right now how we met. It's through Discord and
yeah.
our computers.
And I mean, you're a Triba influencer now, so you're influencing people in a very direct way where there's not I like to think there's not as much noise. I really don't think there's as much noise as there is on a lot of social media platforms. There's still, you still can get distracted and go down the rabbit hole and lose focus, but you can search out the channels and the places where you're looking for information or resources, like the investing channel. I've Anyone posts questions in there, you're on top of that. Like, you're answering those questions, you're helping them out, you're giving them tools and advice and pointing them in the right direction, which is really awesome. You're influencing their decision process. I'm curious, is there ever a time when you're like, oh, I need to go less digital here, I need to go more physical, or is it pretty much like you fully embrace technology as the way of the future?
I'm a big believer in innovation and technology. And purely, I think the sort of scale we have to innovate and be efficient with our systems and productivity is at orders of magnitude scale from even where we are at today to even to even just have a slight glimpse of hope that we could maybe overcome some of these long term writing on the walls that I think is fairly apparent, no matter your political paradigm.
Hmm.
Uh, but No, I believe more in a hybrid. I love,
Hmm.
I love to, I enjoy outside, the sun, nature, getting my feet in the grass and the dirt,
Yeah.
human connection. That's very valuable. And the idea to just be isolated by your computer, um, and you just have your interactions online, maybe it works for some people. It's more of an introversion. But we're at the end of the day, we have more primate characteristics, and we're pretty social beings. We long for social connection, and I don't think digital or the cyber method
Hmm.
is the only way that should be done.
Hmm. Well, I'm interested when you're like making your articles. You write a lot. You've got a lot of content coming out. It's really incredible, and I want to know like the process of that when you're coming up with it. Do you jot stuff down on notes, or do you use Notion, or do you have an app that you prefer? Just curious.
It's just wherever I can start writing. Usually, I
Hmm.
just get an idea and a concept, and I'm trying to like organize um, what my mind is telling me,
Yeah.
and just kind of document it and kind of wordsmith and craft it a bit more eloquently. But yeah, no, usually if like, I was on a long trek in Europe and I things were just kept coming to me. So I was like, all right, I just got my notes. I just started writing, and then just kind of like filter it through a little bit of a process. And then, but whatever works, even writing down physical paper, I
Hmm.
would say, keyboard and computer or iPhone is a better method because it's easier to save, backup, broadcast, distribute.
Hmm.
Um, and expedite it. Think of it, it's like a metric called like time to insights. It's like how fast from any given piece of information you consume or content you consume is it insightful or informative.
Huh.
um and
It's an
at the
interesting
scale
metric.
we have and the scale we have to work at is just insane. It's at
Yeah.
the speed of light, and wherever quantum stuff takes us, we have to keep up with that too. But yeah, at least that's kind of my thought process around it. And at least just I'm sure we all have them. Like when they just start flooding,
Yeah.
um, it's important to write it down, not only from like a journaling standpoint and just kind of expressing it, because expression is mission critical in mental health, but also you know just helps you organize it and document it and let it out, because there's a longing for this kind of valuable words, the living words of
Hmm.
very powerful things or concepts that I think we're all starving of. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that especially from a mental health perspective, documenting the journey, documenting your thoughts, getting them down somewhere, really important. And I don't know if you want to get more into that, but I've found that for myself, just I go back and forth between I'm a digital note taker, I do everything on Notion or another app, or I take physical notes. Because if I have a thought, right, it's like a multiple step process. I have a thought, I want to get it down. I go to the computer, I pull it up, something else pops up, someone's messaged me. Sometimes it could be just gone that fast. It's like a
right,
dangerous game to
yeah,
play if you have a really valuable thought. Sometimes I'm like, all right, just give me a piece of paper with nothing on it and let me write down. But then you also
yeah,
you're extending that time, right, from initial idea to getting it out there and sharing it with people. just a little bit. So it's like a
Right.
trade-off.
Yeah. I know personally, I usually do more the I'll use pen and paper usually if it's more like weekly task oriented or just short term task. It's just better for me. I'm at the computer, just kind of right next to me. You have
Right.
the list right here. I like that. I do that. But when it's kind of more overarching or content that needs to be distributed to a broader spectrum, yeah, I mean, there's no other more effective way than digital. So it's
I'm,
just what it is.
do you use AI for any of this kind of stuff to help you?
Uh, no, I don't. No, I don't. I thought about it, trying to implement GPT-3 and stuff like that to automate some social media copy and content. But to be honest, I think the value is from the like the human elements of these things. Like
Right, right.
you can make.
I mean, like in the
Uh,
capture of it, in
uh,
like Google for capturing notes. Like Jeremiah's watching on the stream. He said like, "Hey Google, take a note," and it captures that.
oh, like a virtual assistant, a voice assistant.
Yeah,
No, I don't really use those either. I mean, we have the we have the Thumb AI, and that mines our market data and
yeah,
outputs our signals, and that's our quant system, and we can do a lot more analysis than any human can. Just
yeah.
over 700 plus stocks and like 18 plus crypto. If you try to read those charts on that by yourself,
Right.
you're not going to be able to compete. But no. AI is a good and powerful tool. It's definitely going to grow stronger. It's like there's just so much data and information that we need sort of systems or methodologies to do it.
Mm,
But I have seen a lot of the older crowd. They do like to use the voice assistant and just like talk to their phone a lot.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I did that for a while. I can't remember exactly why I stopped. I think it just became more efficient for me to do it myself. Just bugs and or delays and technology kind of slowing me down in essence. Like it wouldn't capture it exactly or it'd mess it up a little bit. So I really just I take notes myself now. I used to use Google for all the notes and reminders. It was an interesting time. I had my whole entire house wired to Google, every light, all the utilities, all my computers, and I've since kind of gone back from that. And I don't really feel like I miss much except for the ease of being able to turn everything off with one word. But
Yeah, and it's like a the same thing as the other kind of things we've been talking about. It's a trade-off between privacy and ease of use and security.
yeah,
Google. There's a joke. It's like never trust Google with your data. Of course not. But there's a lot of these metadata ad tracking systems that what they'll do is they'll know you search on Google. You have some sort of parent metadata ad ID,
hmm,
and then like all the apps together, they'll know like who you're around, what network you're on, what other devices you're on, who else you're around, and they'll share like they'll get it's so crazy
wow,
how well they mine your data. But Google itself, Google Wi-Fi is pretty good. The network, it's pretty easy to set up like Google Home Wi-Fi, and it's pretty good. If
yeah,
you want a mesh network that's pretty fast, it's good. You can't deny that, and it's easy to use. It's a bit easier to know like a bit network home security or be mindful of, but you just don't, you just got to know. It's like you don't want to do everything with Google. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong; they're great with a lot of things, but you just don't want to will you know blissfully not be aware that they're obviously going to use all that data for profit and against
right.
you, which revolves around back to that attention and conversation about your media hygiene, because
It's
they're going
all
to
free.
give you an ad. Yeah,
It's
they're
all.
going to give you an ad. Yeah, they're going to give you an ad every they're getting data
That's really
every
interesting.
second and click.
Think about.
Yeah.
So you're giving somebody all this data for free, and all you're getting a lot in return, but you're sacrificing a lot of privacy and a lot of control over what you see.
Right. And and it's not like, oh, you need to be totally private and anonymous, and that's certain people might care more for that than others. But in like in a common way, just a common kind of for the commoner, it's like, no, you just be mindful that all these tools, they're going to give you ads. They're just going to try to sell you stuff, And when you click on the ad, you just helped them,
Right.
and like the amount of people I know when they search Google and they just click the ad because it's first. It's like I intentionally don't click the ad because I'm
Yeah.
like, you have to work harder for my, that's what.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's interesting how this will all play into like Web3 and tokenizing people's profiles and portfolios. What do you think of that? I mean, sounds like we're sacrificing a lot of uh, control over our own privacy.
I think Web 2 was the proliferation of centralized internet systems and information systems, and it's not that they're going to go extinct, but it's more apparent that if more efficiencies happen with like decentral organizations or DAOs, or things on the blockchain that are more local, community, and merit based or project based, or kind of like, obviously there's speculation in any market, you know any where there's a will, there's a way. There's always going to be someone trying to make a quick buck and at all
Yeah.
costs, and don't care what they have to do. And even in a big picture level, that's what happens. That's what's happening. Just extract all the capital systematically. But at least in Web 3, you can choose. Like you can opt into a system that's like Brave browser and basic attention token. It's like, hey, use our browser. You'll get ads and stuff, but you're gonna get paid for your like the ads you watch, and then you get a reward in BAT token. Or it's
Okay.
like Ocean Protocol. It's like it's a Web 3 data economy, and it's like it's just like a decentralized data market that anyone can do. It's not some shadow data brokers in Silicon Valley. Or you could or there's like more data sovereignty platforms where it's that you can sort of protect and custody your own data, and then you can sell it as you want, or at least you have the decision to and the ownership to with the technology. But that concept of decentralization, at least what's evident to me, it's far more efficient means of innovation.
Actually, it
And
sounds like you'll have more control over what you see then too.
right, and that kind of feeds into the like fighting back or hacking your algorithm, or your
Right.
what like say you're I actually had this conversation with my mom. She's like, I hate my YouTube algorithm. And like it doesn't give me anything different, and like that stuff will radicalize people, or like put people in their own hyper echo information chamber or bias chamber, or whatever it is. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to know that you can like click stuff that directly goes against what you're thinking or what you want, and your algorithm has to learn and have feedback from it. And most people don't know how to escape that, but you actually do have your conscious choice as a consumer on what you click and what you say and what you do is very powerful, and that's
Yeah.
the means of power that is systematically used against us and you, whoever's listening.
Hmm. That's interesting because there's a lot you could do to change your algorithm, but a lot of people don't realize that their profile's being developed in that way by everything that they interact with the platform. Uh, I'm sure most
Right.
most boomers don't.
No idea.
They have no
I mean, some of them are wizards. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them are the
right,
wizards that built this stuff we have today.
right.
A very small few, but there are that they exist, and they're very, very very awesome, powerful, creative, smart people. But at the other side, there's a lot of people that they don't know how to reset their password. Or I was dealing with a like an older person in my family where it's like they didn't know how to reset their iCloud password, so they would just make a new iCloud every time. So they have like 20 iCloud accounts, something
Oh,
like
that's a
that.
nightmare.
Yeah, but and even even in the more serious way is they're preyed upon. So they're
Yeah.
prime targets for cyber criminals and scammers, and it's just and they don't know it. It's like
Mm.
they'll get a text like, oh, your FedEx package is almost here. It's like, oh,
Click.
you just don't
Yeah.
even think about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't even think about it, and then boom,
You
they're
need to
bit.
reset your password here. Click this link.
It's like, oh, whoops, I forgot to do that. But
Yeah.
I don't know how you fix that, but at least I think
Yeah.
priority wise, you have to educate the children.
Yeah,
And
awareness.
yeah,
I think that's a big part of it, and that also plays in on a larger scale. The more people are aware of how closely their information is being gathered and tracked and monitored, how easily they can
it's all
be.
being collected, gathered, and monitored.
Yeah,
All of
yeah,
it.
but then how that's
That's
being funneled back to them in terms of polarizing them and keeping them in a little bubble. I'm
right.
interested to see what happens with Idea Market, because I think that there's a chance to break out of that, and if people stop like using YouTube to find their news. I mean, that's just like the worst way to find your news. YouTube's just going to give you what you want to hear, right? They're just going to show you what
Yeah,
you're most
I
likely to click on.
yeah, no, the idea market community and the concept, very powerful. It's a mission and a fight worth
Mm-hmm.
fighting. It's just how effective, because if you become a legitimate threat to Facebook or whatever, for
Right.
Amazon, that's, you know, yeah, well, be careful.
You better be
Uh,
ready. Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah,
like example,
and but
Yeetum Synergy is like my place to go to for stock information. Like I'm not going to go look up stuff on YouTube. I'm going to come ask you, or I'm going to go post a question in there, right, and get a person's feedback, as opposed to what pops up because of the algorithm on the first thing that I, or whatever I search, the first thing that pops up. That's just annoying to me at this point. It's like I'd rather click on a link that somebody posted from YouTube than let the algorithm do anything for me.
yeah, and maybe at a human to human level, or kind of the level where we do business. It's the best way when you have a trusted source or contact for anything.
Hmm.
Whether it's a plumber, a mechanic, or
Yeah.
advise, whatever it is. It's kind of that Knights of the Round Table concept. But even in the more dystopian sense, it's kind of like, well, we're using Discord right now, and all their businesses run on the internet. I don't know the latest stat, but last time I checked, it was like half of the internet all runs on Amazon Web Services.
Okay.
Discord, us talking right now, is primarily data flowing through AWS, probably.
Huh.
And you know, it's like, what are you gonna do? What are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
I was wondering if you could explain for our viewers and for my own sake, like as simple as possible, the difference between Web 1, 2, and 3.
Uh,
Is that something you can break down in like three
it,
sentences? Like,
I can tell you my interpretation. I don't want to, project I'm the deepest, most greatest wizard of this. But at least in my mind, Web 1 is kind of what DARPANET was. That was the innovation that came out of, sort of government and research facilities that needed better. That's where the internet was gave birth to. It
right,
was like, okay, we need to, scientists or whoever, we need information faster. We need to know how
right,
to like share information better. I can't just wait for your mail or
right,
your carrier pigeon to get to my house. Uh, but that in my mind, that's kind of Web 1.
right.
I'm sure there's more technical sort of meanings to it that might be a bit, maybe not aligned with what
But
I'm
like
saying. But Web 2,
the simplest layer of
right,
connecting machines.
right, and then that gave birth to the whole PC, the Mac, early Windows, and
Yeah,
all those IBM computers way back in the day before our time. And then, those were more mainframe systems. And then client server technology came out, and it was the idea that you could have more distributed systems. You could sort of like do all the back end processing on the server side. The client only needed specific application things, stuff
right.
like that. Um, and that's where a lot of like companies like Oracle, Microsoft, obviously IBM a little bit, and even Amazon. That's where they came. That's where they gave birth, and Google. And it was like, wow, this is an incredibly powerful way to, uh, just just compete in the market of, uh, software and IT, and mainly information systems that can bring this right to your front door. It's
Yeah,
like back in the day when I'm sure milk first came out. I was like, oh, the milkman. That's like a blessing. To be
right,
able to have milk brought straight to your front door. I don't have to go to my cow and milk it and stuff.
right,
It's
right.
like it's the same idea in terms of market from the market. Um, and that's Web 2. So it's like centralized client server, usually servers, databases. It gets crazier architecturally,
Right.
yada yada. And
Right.
then it's Web 3, where it's like, okay, Bitcoin gave birth, and then it's like, whoa, we solved the Byzantine general problem, and we
Yeah.
can have decentralized
Yeah.
consensus and blockchains, and like, we can prove, through like cryptography that certain things happened, and we all agree on that this happened,
Hmm.
but it doesn't need to go through it like a central, server or a few controlled computers by the powers that be. And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then, Ethereum came out and it's like, okay, well, we need more advanced and more capable ways to make, arrangements and,
Yeah.
contracts and binding agreements. And that's where contracts came into place. And long story short, now we're here in 2021 and we're talking about it. In the markets, I think it's probably around 2 trillion, the whole market cap. Um,
Crazy.
global stocks are over 100 trillion market cap. Stocks, the first stock exchange, I believe, was invented sometime in like the 1600. And I'm sure there was people then that were like, "Oh, that's too abstract. That's not going to work.
Right.
All this paper contracts are not going to work."
Yeah.
But it did, and that was 300 years ago. So who knows where we go from 100 to 200. But what's obvious is it's
Wow.
just more. It's a stronger edge. It's more effective, and that's really the big picture around it. But more simply put, um, what can the individual do, or what's the power to the people with these technologies? And it's
Right.
like you can create memes, you can start your own online business, you can employ gravity marketing, start your own community Facebook group.
Yeah.
uh, you can make memes just like a nation state does, whether it's the Chinese government, the American government, the Dutch, British, Spanish, whatever. The individual can do that. The basically the same thing. Um, because it's all the same means, right?
Right.
And it has nothing to do with capital. It's about like building and creating, which is like the beauty.
Hmm.
Um, and just understanding that. So I hope that might be overcomplicated, but that's kind of like my personal view of the evolution.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious to see. Do you think that stocks and crypto are going to merge in some way, or constantly be separate entities? Because I mean, I didn't know it was 300 years. I would have guessed maybe 100, 200, but that's a long time for people to be trading businesses like stocks. So what
Yeah,
do you
there's.
see
I
for
mean,
the
it
future,
wasn't
like of
just
them
stocks.
merging?
It stocks is one thing, but it was trading like, like I don't know if you've heard of the tulip craze of, I believe it was the Netherlands. They're
Oh
trading like,
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
trading commodity. There's more like commodities and stuff like
Right.
that, I imagine at first. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's companies doing that and ownership and profit, and it's probably so complicated. And who knows what they don't teach us
Yeah.
about all that? But no, there's definitely already a merging of it. I mean, I think what you're talking about is like a securities, uh, which is you know
Yeah.
this you can do all that on an ERC20 token, and make smart contracts the same way you would build a stock or a company.
Yeah.
Uh, an example of that is Nexo. Nexo is kind of the European version of BlockFi, if anyone knows what that is. But anyways, they're like crypto banks, and they give you interest, and you can get like loans on your crypto and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, who knows if that'll survive? Because crypto is like inherently deflationary. So how do you give interest forever on something that is limited?
Right. Right.
But anyways, they
That's
so
an interesting
Nexo
limitation.
Nexo doesn't have a stock, but they have a token that is actually a security. And it's a security because you get paid a dividend and a loyalty points for holding it. That's a part of the net profit from their loan portfolio. So like through smart contracts, they're like, okay, 30% of all our net profit goes straight to our token
Okay,
people.
so the token
So that's already
itself
happening.
isn't making money. They're making money on their own investments and paying it back to people who own parts of the company via these
Yeah, yeah,
tokens.
yeah. I mean, in like the
The token's
professional
not
Wall
making
Street,
money.
it's like yeah, it's like a stake or a security in their business. It's like
Yeah. Is that the
in
same
a very
way?
serious invest. Yeah.
Do all of them? So if you go on Coinbase, and I love having you on here because this is just like me getting the chance to ask you all the questions I've had for Tabalo for the past like year. But if I'm on Coinbase and it's like, oh, hold this coin and we'll give you 0.001 APY, whatever. Like, is that the coin's not making money, right? It's not based on how many people buy the coin, right? It's based on something else, physical. It's got to be.
Right. The um, I think you're are you I think you're asking more about staking, proof of stake. Is that what it gets complicated real fast,
Okay.
but
Not to get too complicated, but just like if you were to hold something like Nexo and make money, that makes sense if they're investing it in something in real life, right? They're taking money and they have an investment that's growing. But if it's just a coin, like how are people earning interest on coins?
um, so it's like liquidity farming, staking, stuff like that. So like what you're doing is like Ethereum 2.0. It's like you lock up and you stake your Ethereum uh, in a node. It needs at least 32 Ethereum to run one. But what you're doing is you're providing liquidity. So you're like, hey, I'm locking in my Ethereum and exchange, through the smart contract in the program,
Mm-hmm.
you get an incentive and a return to do that.
Okay, so they're paying you to have
Um, so
to
it's
have
just
Ethereum available for trading purposes.
and so you're staking your Ethereum to feed the ETH 2.0
Yeah.
system, and
Okay.
then but there's others, there's like Aave and all these other things, Sushi Swap, and you just put your crypto in to feed liquidity, like a money
Yeah.
market, like it's just like a money market you would with
In a bank, like a
Fidelity or
bank would do with
whatever.
your money.
Yeah,
So it'd be the same
yeah,
way you would just get
but
a
you don't need a
percentage of the transactional fee when it comes back around. That would be what they're giving
through
you. That's how
yeah
the interest.
through through open source, through the protocol, through the code, and through smart contracts. So it's like if you buy some crazy financial product from whoever,
Yeah.
they're not going to tell you the inner workings of it. But
Right.
that's why this is so powerful, because it's like, oh, you want to trust it? Well, you can verify it.
Yeah.
Here, look at it all. Tell us where we're doing wrong.
Yeah.
Show us a bug. Tell us how to fix or whatever. And but you can't do that with centralized structures or power, and especially when you got power, politics, and money involved. So
True.
that's what it is.
True. It's so much different on this on the open web. Okay, so question: do you ever wake up? Is this a scenario that you run into, Tabalo? Do you wake up to like 20 friends DMing you like, Tabalo, what is this? What is this new coin that just came out? They're promising me this crazy amount of return. Like, should I buy it? Is that a common occurrence for you?
It's not crazy common. It happens every now and then where like some sort of market news comes out and spreads and they're calling
Yeah.
me. But
What do you usually do to find
yeah,
out? Like if there's a new coin, like how would you proof it? How would you figure out like Sushi Swap, for example? Like how do you verify that? Why would
sushi
I buy
swap's
it?
like the so sushi swap, I don't have the exact numbers on hand, but it's the number two decentralized exchange behind Uniswap, and basically everything's built off Uniswap anyways. And
Yeah.
then I know Jeremiah is listening,
He
so
just said I
Cardano and Sunday.
always message Tabalo.
Yeah, Cardano and Sunday Swap, and that whole decentralized application community is coming out. So um, that's just what it is. But if you want to get an advantage on it from like a information asymmetry of the market, um, I mean, you just have to know what you're looking for. I mean, cryptos are and all this, software money, computer money is a bit tough because they joke it's like it's everything you don't know about computers and everything you don't know about economics combined. But the way I mean, for whoever's listening and you're just trying to be a little bit sharper about instead of buying,
Right.
what's the new one? It's like Shiba Floki
Right, right.
coin or Shiba.
That's what I want for
You
my
know,
viewers.
personally, I don't opt into those, but what you want to look for is you just want to know, um, just like in any, like observing anything, it's like, okay, what's the validity, what's the confidence, what's the integrity. So that has to do with the white paper, how technical it is usually a good indicator. These things are hard to understand in nature, just because that's how it works, and that's just there's a learning curve to it all.
So if
But
it's too technical or if it's too simple. Like
No,
you're
it's
saying
like
it
if
needs a
there's I don't like Dogecoin, for example. People love it. People love the meme. Had Elon pumping it, but
right. It's just a coin.
why? Just why? Like, what's it?
Yeah,
It's the tokenomics. It's like it's that
tokenomics.
big why story, and then the why, how, what, and it's like, okay, what's it doing? How's it doing it? And then why it's doing it, and the why has to do more with the people in the project, who's building it, how robust is their community. Idea Market's a good example of a very strong community and project, and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
just just kind of knowing how to, it's just due diligence, really. It's like, you can buy the hype or the meme, that that everyone's just aping into.
Yeah.
But if you want to be serious and you want a long term, you need to think long term, and you got to just
Well, that's what I
really
respect about
understand.
you. That's what I respect about you is you've never been all about that hype and like I get messages from hundreds of people about or not hundreds of people, but hundreds of bots and spammers about different
Yeah.
coins that are released and the hype and like, oh, you don't miss out on this value. You've missed out on too many good values and then there's Tabalo over here like make sure you have ingrained on steel your passcode and like you have your Ethereum saved away for your family and he's like take care of your family and look out for your future and make sure you have sound financial investments and that's what I really appreciate about what you're doing is that you're guiding people in the right direction. You are an influencer and you're a shepherd of people because you're helping them explore all this crypto craziness. It is craziness. It's madness how much has popped up in the last few years. And it's daunting to look at. Even to download Coinbase and to log in, it's like there's a whole list of coins there. How do I know which one to buy? I mean, and you look at Bitcoin and you're like, that's 50K? Why would I buy that now? It's probably going to go down. But like, then there's
Yeah.
people like you available to answer those questions and talk to people about it and give them some confidence when they actually want to invest in this next gen currency. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't like the idea of influence, because it's like I'm trying to push you. Although, I mean, that's obviously by nature, that's what it. But it's really just being informed and educated,
Yeah.
and just having a mental model and a methodology or a framework of how your process.
I like guide better
Uh,
personally.
yeah,
The word
yeah, and
guide.
and it and mainly like teaching. It's like teaching yourself to fish and eating the fish, and like, okay, I need more fish,
Yeah.
uh, to survive the winter.
Hmm.
Just that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I think that's a big thing to it. And like you said, crypto is ripe of scammers. It's ripe of, you know, a lot of fraud. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of everything. There's a lot of darkness to it. But you have to, that's why you have to be so educated in, digital media hygiene or information hygiene. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, if someone's trying to take your Ethereum or telling you to send them this or that, it's like,
No, sir.
it's yeah, it's like it's just a scam. It's like I can even, it's like, you just need to know in people's intentions. A lot of the, there's more sophisticated people, obviously, but at least
Yeah.
the lower level stuff, it's like pretty obvious. And like, especially these Discord communities, I had to deal with it recently. It's like someone joins and then they message all your people, but you don't know until like they tell you,
Right.
and it's like, no, mm-mm.
Oh man, we need a solution for this. I'm thinking like blacklists. We need to implement some blacklisting. Um, I don't know. You may have cut out there for a second, but you there still, tomorrow? Hello. We may have slight technical difficulties.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I always point people over towards Synergy when they have questions, and I had that one friend get scammed out of a lot, and people message me about different scams, and I have to go ban people in the community. I think it'd be cool to have some sort of blacklist that the whole network of Triba and other communities shared, so we could simultaneously just block everybody if they're a scammer or something. There's a big need for that
Yeah,
right now.
there's security bots. I can tell you one I use. It's called Double Counter. So it's like when people try to use VPNs and stuff, like that's an easy way to know, like, operationally they're trying to like protect or obfuscate their IP.
Mm.
There's a lot of honeypot stuff you can deploy. I mean, there's tons of tactics.
I almost
But
feel like we
it's
need a
all
whole
about,
series on this, man. Like like media hygiene. I mean, the media hygiene. The other one I thought of was the shit coin or gold coin or something like that, where you just like go through. Well, I can see you like roll out of bed. You're just like, what is this? This is trash. This is so bad. Like this is a total ripoff.
I'd be willing to do it. I'm down. I'm always open book. I'm
That'd be
willing,
cool.
whatever works, and usually being more spontaneous and on the fly is like a faster way to create content than like, okay, be very rigid and everything. It's like, no, just get it done. Just get it done.
You should make a channel. Just tell people, post coins in here you have questions about, and then you just go through there, the best ones, spontaneously do a little quick video on it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of Twitch streamers, trader streamer people. They do that actually. Like they'll be like, oh, can you do the chart on this or whatever? That's a thing.
Mm.
That's definitely a thing.
Yeah, and maybe get into like some of the technical analysis, but that's hard to do. It's hard to do with some of these coins. Um, it'd be nice to have a place where I could go find out more information on specific coins that I was curious about, but I don't personally go seeking out stuff like that. I stick with the big ones and the ones I've talked to you about. If anyone is curious about crypto and investing in general, stocks too, I mean, not just crypto, go to Synergy. Go check out Tabalo's server. It is top notch, number one. That's the one I stick to, go back to repeatedly. Jeremiah's in chat saying he's always messaging Tabalo about Carbano, about everything. So, yeah, get in there. Is there a short link that they can do? Synergy dot. You want to drop that?
Yeah, it's just synergy.yeadom.com.
Synergy.yeadom.com. Cool.
Yeah, so anyone that wants to join it, it's free, it's open.
Yeah.
You don't get charged to join our Discord. And join Triba.
Yeah.
You have to join Triba first, and then you can.
If you're not in here, yeah, definitely join Triba. It should be in the link in this Twitch chat. And then if you're in there, go to our partners channel, and you'll find Synergy right off the top. Tawal is always posting content in there, which is awesome. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to share a little bit about your journey and about the digital media and media hygiene. So it's been very helpful for me, and hopefully we'll get you back on and talk more about it at some point.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Sam. And I'll do anything for Triba as far as my hands and eyes and my yeet can go.
Well, you're
So
a valued elder,
let me know.
a valued elder for sure, and a pillar of this community. So I look forward to seeing where we go in partnership and how we can help people continue to survive in this digital media age and stay sane. Stay safe, guys. Remember, wash your hands and wash your eyes. Wash.
Wash your mind.
All right. That's all for today. We'll catch you again next week, and be sure to stop in on Friday for the Tribal Council at 5 p.m. Eastern Time in the Discord. All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.
So